Score screen. Here we go. Game number 2 has now fully loaded up. The score screen is working properly now too. So let's introduce our first player spawning in the bottom right hand corner of the map. It's going to be the red Protoss player Showtime from Team Alternate. And will you do the honors of introducing his opponent?
My pleasure, thank you. Second player that we're going to be introducing is the Zerg player for My Insanity. It is Cyril.
Okay. So do you think he can do it again? Have you seen any games from Showtime recently?
Yeah, I remember him in Wings of Liberty. I remember watching a lot of games from him, and I thought this guy was going to be like one of the best players coming into Heart of the Storm. I don't think he's really done as well as what people were expecting him to do, but his potential is crazy good. Like if he plays at his best, I think he's going to take this game as well. But I've not really seen too much of his PvZ since I'm a Terran player, so I normally watch him versus Terran, to be fair. But
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Showtime did make it into Premier League last season, I do believe. So he is still definitely a player to be very careful about.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And also there was some potential for some shenanigans with that pylon on the low ground for Showtime. Can of course open up with a forge after that and really force your opponent into going for the hatch first. But Cyril just playing it safe right now. And of course Cyril, definitely a player not to be underestimated at all. He's a pretty powerful player himself, but Showtime not afraid at all. He's going to go for that Nexus first, and let's see if he's going to play it greedy enough to go immediately for that forge, for that gateway too, and completely foregoing that forge.
One of the things I was going to say is Showtime's got to be running on a bit of a high right now. Like he's just won versus one of the strongest Terrans in My Insanity, in my opinion. So right now he's got to be feeling quite confident going into this game, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I think that will definitely play in his favour. But I mean, Cyril could probably use that against Showtime because Showtime's probably feeling a little bit more tired, maybe a little bit more fatigued than Cyril. So I mean, whereas Cyril's like kind of like more fresh going into this game, Showtime's obviously played versus Mech, which is, you know, even as a pro player, it's kind of difficult to kind of break down in the early game. So Showtime's,
yes, indeed.
yeah. So Showtime's probably feeling a little bit more exhausted than Cyril, so it'd be interesting to see. But Cyril's taking this early third hatchery here. It's pretty standard opening right now from both players.
Yeah, really glad that he got the timing so incredibly nice. Usually around the 4-minute mark is when it is safe to take that third base if your opponent's going to go for that Forge fast expand. And well, Cyril is on top of it, literally, with that Overlord. He's seen everything that Showtime.
He hasn't seen the gases yet. He's not seen the gases yet. It'd be interesting to see if he'll decide to move his Overlord in a minute.
Well,
and there's no real...
With the build order that Showtime went for, it is pretty... there's really no opportunity for Showtime to still be on one gas. It's just not possible, because you do need to get your tech out pretty quickly after this. But yeah, he's going to give up full map control for now. And well, Cyril's now going to move that Overlord to really see maybe what is going on inside that main base. But it's really going to get interesting for him by the time that the Cybernetics Core finishes up. Because then it's going to be time to spot the tech, which is a game in itself. But the third hatchery for Cyril is going to come up. The probe has returned back home. Was it killed off? No, it did return just back home. So very nice, very nicely done by Showtime. And he did see everything that was coming his way, I do believe. Did he come?
The map vision for Cyril right now is looking really nice. I mean, obviously, like this is pretty standard in the early game anyway, because you have the early lings to go and get the map control, and Protoss doesn't really have anything to move out with at the moment. So, but the Overlord spread looks really, really good right now. So any Warp Prism play, any funny business that comes along, I mean, Cyril's going to be able to see that coming for sure.
Exactly. And well, a little bit of a funky location for that Stargate.
Yeah, definitely.
It's pretty easy to spot with an Overlord. The Overlords are completely out of position, which probably will have played a role. And also, I love when the Zerg players actually do this. See the Overlord at the 12 o'clock position and the 6 o'clock position. Those are such incredibly popular locations to put down a pylon
synchronized.
or to sneak. Yeah,
I love that.
Also to sneak a probe by, like people usually don't check there, and to get your Overlords at least across there, you'll see when aggression is going to come your way.
Well, the Overlord at the 12 o'clock position is a pretty common spot for pylons from the Protoss because it leads to that 4th base, it leads to that 3rd base, so it's easy to sort of like warp in DTs or Zealots or any kind of harassment units because it leads to both those bases. So Serral's positioning, like I say, for his Overlords has been really, really good this game so far. As long as he can continue to have that map vision, I'm sure he's going to be fine going into this late game. Especially for like in terms of seeing any harassment coming his way.
It's the playstyle from Sejong is actually pretty nice right now because he is identified that this is a Phoenix build, of course, with all of his overlords now dying on the map. He's going to lose a few of that, get a little bit supply blocked, but he has plenty of time to start his Spore Crawlers. He's even getting Hydralisk Den right now, and look at how incredibly late he started that metabolic boost. It's not even halfway done right now, and he has identified he did not need it at that point, so he got his Roach Warren, he's got his Lair before any of that, any of the Zergling speed, because he's not going to need it for anything. So why not just work on your tech, and you can get your Zergling
get your economy
later.
going. Yeah, I mean that is you know, a great point actually, because he saw the opening from the Protoss player. He saw that there was no real aggression coming, so you know he's pretty safe just to play really, really passive right now and just get his tech going, as you say, and his Lair's already done. He's getting his evolution chambers going, and everything looks really, really good right now for Sejong.
Exactly, but it's still going to be very nice for Showtime if he can keep those Phoenixes alive. Well, at least until the late game, because they are a great tool for scouting, and well, keeping them alive is going to keep your opponent on his toes as well. And Showtime, from his Phoenix control, I do know that it is pretty good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really like Sejong just getting 2 Spore Crawlers in both bases, so those Phoenixes are not going to wreck him all day, every day.
Yeah, and that gives him the option to continue droning. I mean, for a little bit longer than what he would normally have to do, because he's more safe right now, right? Like he's not got to worry about dealing with the Phoenixes as much as if he just didn't take the option to build those spores. So, I mean, Serral's playing it out really, really well, but it's hard to see really is ahead right now. I mean, Showtime's getting his 3rd up, and that's not being pressured quite yet, but we should see some more aggression in a second from Sejong. He's going to start looking to snipe off that 3rd base. And he's going to take a 4th actually behind this with this as well, so it's good.
It's a very passive game indeed so far. The first Colossus is now out. There's no thermal lance just yet, but it looks like there's muscular augments on the way for those Hydralisks, so he really wants to get those speed Hydralisks going. He already has that +1, the extra range attack upgrade. So those Hydralisks are going to be pretty powerful. And if you could push at this point, it would... Well, the Colossus and the Hydralisk have the same range, but once that thermal lance is finishing up, there's no way that he can push into this anymore. And there's still sentries, of course, to take into account. So I really like in this current setup for Sejong to just stay back. Why would he really push out? He's getting a few Corruptors to help deal with those Colossi. Not something that you see a whole lot of nowadays. Usually you just see Vipers yank them in, and you're gonna kill them off fast enough anyway.
I mean, the Corruptors aren't actually going to be as effective in this game because of the Stargate opening from Showtime. I mean, he's going to have those Phoenixes to sort of kite against the Corruptors, but I mean, you kind of need them, you know, versus high Colossus numbers. I mean, Vipers can only do so much, right? Like, they do need a bit more firepower in the air to deal with them Colossus. But as soon as those Colossus die, then I mean,
he really got a lot of Corruptors though. He's going to get 12 of them.
Yeah, this is a crazy number.
Yeah, and that's not enough Stalkers to really deal with those Corruptors effectively at all.
There we go.
Blink is still also not done, so you cannot really punish the Corruptors who are moving forward so incredibly far. But once the Colossi are dead, there's really nothing to kill off those Hydralisks quickly enough. So I'm a little bit skeptical about this defensive position of Showtime. He cannot be on the map in this setup. And also on King Sejong Station, there are some locations where you can get your Corruptors in a pretty decent spot, where the Stalkers just are not good at getting to them. But in the current economy, like Sejong is sitting at 78 drones. That's pretty insane. And
I mean, he's fully he's pretty much fully saturated on his bases. His creep spread looks pretty decent as well. I'd like to see that kind of worked on a little bit more, but I mean, he's taken a 5th base. I mean, he's just sort of got all the map control he needs, and he's got no threats coming to harass him or anything. So, yeah, Serral's just looking to go into this late game really, really safely right now. Showtime, I think his whole objective in this current moment is to hold that 3rd base. If he holds that 3rd base, he can then start to put on pressure, but I think he's going to have to be on a more defensive position, as we can see.
There go the Phoenixes, but they do give a nice tell about the positioning of Showtime. First Colossus is getting Phobos fired so incredibly quickly.
Oh,
very aggressive playing forward. Those Stalkers are not going to be trading very well against this, but they will clean it up. The Stalker count just being so incredibly high.
Oh my word, that just got melted.
Yeah, but still, resetting that Colossus count, there's a 5th base about to finish up for Serral. There's even a 6th base. Oh, he does cancel it right now, because he needs those units, and those Corruptors are actually not going to do anything
24
right
roaches, 15 Hydras on the way.
I
think this is going to catch Showtime. I think this is going to catch Showtime off by, off guard, because right now I think he just thinks he can go and push and win, but I don't think he realises just the remax potential right now of Serral. He's been keeping up with those injects brilliantly this whole game.
I don't really agree with him trying to hold on to this base, because there's no way that he can hold it off against those Immortals and those Stalkers. He should have just given it up. He lost a few extra units more than he really needed to. He reset the Colossus count quite a bit, and that's already a very nice setup. And I'm
quite surprised that Showtime didn't try and take a 4th base while that was all going on. Because he's pretty safe right now. I don't think Serral will actually be able to push him until he's maxed on something a little bit more beefier than Roach Hydra right now.
And now we're going into 12 Mutalisk. Very nice response by Serral. Also
actually, that's a really nice response.
But Mutalisk, I'm not quite sure. The Stalker count is still so incredibly high, and there
Warp
is a
Prism in the main.
on the map. Warp Prism in the main.
Oh, got picked off.
Well, the benefit of 2 Spore Crawlers in your main base, right? So no extra
exactly.
Right here.
And that comes back to the point that you made. I mean, why not get those 2 Spore Crawlers? It makes you more safe, and for very little difference in terms of economy as well. Especially if you're not coming up against aggression.
Exactly. And here are the Mutalisk. Stalker count, however, is still pretty decent. Killing off the photon cannon is still a pretty nice job. He's not going to get this 4th base though. It's just not.
Got to be really careful with those Mutas, because the Blink Stalkers right now are at a pretty high count, so they're going to be able to deal with these Mutalisks really easily.
But the Stalkers still
I suppose they're just...
+3. I'm a little bit surprised that Showtime did not start it. He is getting stormed.
Yeah, I think he's...
That's going to help.
Yeah, I think he's made a few errors this game with regards to his mechanics, but I still think he's in an okay position. I don't think he's in as strong position as Serral right now, though. Serral's looking exceptionally good.
Yeah, Serral seems to really be playing for that map control and really keeping Showtime on his side of the base, his side of the map, I mean. And look at that, while the Mutas are distracting the entire army of Showtime, all those Roach and Hydralisks, they seem to be going towards their 3rd or towards the natural base. So it looks like Showtime has just had enough, and he's sending a lot of Stalkers forward to go for some sort of base trade here.
Wow, really nice move from Serral, and he's also taken a base down the bottom right as well. But Showtime's decision to counterattack here is actually a pretty interesting choice, because Serral has nothing to defend this.
Exactly.
And he has to pull back.
Well, some of the Hydralisks and the Mutalisk are returning back home. I'm really surprised.
He hasn't got a Mothership Core.
Oh, that's
if he had a Mothership Core with this army, I would say this is a good choice. But without the Mothership Core, I mean, this is really risky.
Actually, the Spire was taken out in all of this, so there are no more Mutalisks coming out, which can be pretty quickly. And those Blinks are pretty good right here. Hydralisks, however, are just a little bit too powerful. The supplies have evened up pretty nicely right here.
Yeah, and Showtime's got his 4th as well, so economical advantage right now. I mean, he did lose actually his 3rd. I actually missed that. Yeah. Wow. Okay, maybe Showtime's in a pretty bad position right now that he's lost his 3rd. I think if he still had his 3rd, then this would have been okay. But
well, the economy is still pretty equal at the moment, and those Corruptors, they're not going to do anything. The supplies have evened up quite nicely, and Showtime
Blink micro
has more workers at this point. As long as he can use them, he's going to be in a good position here.
This is a really close game. There's a really nice pick off that base of the right, and he's still been able to get away with the majority of his forces, so that's a pretty good trade there for Showtime. Well, he's also taking up into Templar as well now, so...
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, indeed, very nice that he killed off that, well, the 4th or 5th base, whichever it is. He can go towards that base, towards the 3 o'clock position right now.
Oh, Storms!
Oh, Storms would be so incredibly powerful. Yeah, he does have enough energy for Storms as well. And really, those Corruptors... There's just no Colossi from Showtime, so those Corruptors, they're dead. They're dead supply right now.
Dead supply.
10 Corruptors that are not doing anything. That makes this army of Showtime look pretty scary. With the, does he still have Immortal? No, but he does have Storm in here, and that's still a pretty scary spot to be in.
Showtime, this flank looks sick.
Yeah, this is.
Oh.
Wow! This is so.
Oh my God!
Quickly. Storm does go down. Second Storm also, well, it glims a little bit, but the army of Serral is
amazing
so
concave.
Yeah, will he be able to push this back though? Those Corruptors are trying to tank a little bit for Serral, but I don't think that it's enough right now. Look at the supplies; they're just so incredibly even.
The upgrades are really low on both of these players right now.
Yeah, they've really focused.
I don't know. I mean, I know that Serral's been hit a lot in economy, and so is Showtime a little bit, but. I think that's definitely something that both of these guys will have realised that are mistakes in this game. Yeah. Upgrades are so important at this stage of the game.
But also, Showtime does know about this base at the 3 o'clock position. At least he knows that there is creep there. And that, well, that pretty much leaves only one option open. Showtime is just going to go for the win here. I don't think that Serral has enough to really hold this off. The blink micro Showtime is just insane. Once again, those Corruptors are not helping out at all. The drones are being pulled here now too. And our army supply is still relatively equal, but that is going to favor Showtime at this point, especially with how incredibly cost efficient he can trade at this point. He's at the
I think that base in the game. That base in the bottom right was a fantastic choice from Serral. I mean, Showtime just didn't know anything about it, and there was not really much he could do about it, to be fair. Because he kept on trying to push Serral and just basically try and kill him, because he knew that after losing that 3rd base, his economy was in shambles, the upgrades weren't really flowing for Showtime, and going into the late game, he just didn't really look in